All right, everybody, welcome back to another week of the Lasting Learning Podcast. I am pumped this week because I have one of my real life heroes with me virtually today. I've got a woman who I have followed on social media for a while and who I just completely admire. Um, Let me just describe her a little bit. She's a streaker. I'm going to put that out there and just see how what kind of enthusiasm that brings up. She's a streaker. She is a leader. She's a mom. She's a wife. She's a principal. She's a bus driver. She's a farmer. You name it, Kas Nelson does it. So Kas is my guest this week, and I'm just super excited to kind of find out what makes her tick. So Kas, I painted a good picture of you there. What else do we need to know? Those people that have never heard of you before, have never met you before, tell us, who's Kas?
Well, I'm trying to figure out if you're really talking about me, Dave. I'm not sure you are, but I will try my best to tell you a little bit about who Kas is. Kas is a mom, first of all, and a wife, and those are my two greatest joys of my life. I would not be anywhere or anyone. I would not be the person I am today, or if it weren't for my husband's support and my three children. And I've got a cat here who's decided that because I'm on the back porch, so had a cat decide she wants to get in on this talk tonight. Anyway, Kas is, yes, as you mentioned, a streaker. That is something that I picked up because I have enjoyed running and don't always make the time to take care of myself. Don't always make the time to make sure that I'm being healthy. So I thought through streaking that would give me some motivation.
And I do want to clarify, you're down in Oklahoma.
Okay.
You being a streaker who likes to run, that doesn't mean you're running out the 50-yard line at Sooners games, right? This is...
No.
Okay.
Boomer Sooner. I am a Sooner fan.
Okay. So by a streaker, you run a lot and often.
I run a lot. I run at least a mile every day. And I've always told myself to not compare myself to others. I have lots and lots of friends who run many, many miles like you in a day. I will get on social media and see that somebody's run 8 miles or 10 miles, or Jessica K. Bean, one of my good friends, is training for a marathon right now. She ran 16, I believe, this last weekend. Adam Welcome is another good friend. Anyway, I applaud them, but in my life, in my world, if I can get a mile some days, I am killing it. So I go for at least a mile, and then what I do extra is extra. Carrying on, we won't get too hung up on this streak because
we're coming back to that. Don't worry, because it's go ahead.
Okay. Carrying on, I'm also the principal to 180 very precious people in my school, and I'm proud to be their principal every day. I'm proud to go to work and to just spread joy and kindness with them, and to get them excited to be at our school and learning. So that is me. That is who I am.
That's so cool. So you do a lot, and I love how you started off by talking about your family being your priority. And I think you got, I don't want to say it's an advantage because some people might say it's a curse, but I'll say it's an advantage where your family is with you at work as well. Can you talk about that dynamic a little bit?
Oh yeah, it's awesome. I have the best of both worlds because my husband is our superintendent at our district. So I like to tell people that he's the boss on paper. That's just a joke that we have. It really, at our small school, we work so closely together, and a lot of times I'll hear from people, "God, don't you get sick of each other? Don't you?" We really don't. I don't know if it's just because we both really love kids. We both really love what we do. But we really do have the best of both worlds. And then in addition to that, we are so blessed to get to take our 3 children to our jobs, to our places that we spend our lives every day. We get to take them with us. So yeah, and I've been blessed to have all 3 of my kids in my school.
That's awesome. And I think the big theme of this episode is really going to be about balance and finding time for everything. And you and I were just involved in a Twitter chat together right before we went on here. And one of the questions that we were talking about was the idea of not adding people into your calendar, but including them in your calendar. And I think that that's something that you do masterfully, whether it's by choice or if it's by obligation. I'm just thinking through like everything you just described. Your kids come to school with you, your husband's at work with you. You're not out there trying to run 20 miles in a weekend. You're saying, hey, I'm going to run a mile because that's important to me. And just for my own curiosity, what number are you at right now? How many days in a row?
I forgot to look this morning or this evening when I ran, but I think it's 1577.
See, that's just stupid. That's stupid. And I'm a guy, I do run marathons, but I could not run 1,500 days in a row. There is no
Yes, you
way.
can.
Well,
yes, you can.
Okay, so let's go back to this. Let's go back. Let's start at the very beginning of this. 1,500 whatever days ago, when you said, I'm going to go for a mile run today. And then the second day, and then the third day. When did you decide, I'm going to keep going? This is going to become something I do.
Okay, so this is why it is so doable. This is why anybody can do this. I started because, like I had mentioned, I've been running. I had run a half marathon before I started streaking. But Runner's World does a run streak.
Yep.
And they do it 2 times a year. Once is from like Thanksgiving to New Year's, and then once is from like Memorial Day to the 4th of July. And so on that Memorial Day, I kind of saw that coming up on the calendar and was like, and I had done it before. I had done the run streak before with Runner's World, but I made it to like day 14 and then fell off the wagon. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna at least do 40 days. So I started a few days before Memorial Day, just ran, I think it was 2 miles. I was used to running 2 miles, so I think it was 2 miles that first time. And then I just kept on, and I was just gonna run until 4th of July, and I ran a 5K on 4th of July, and I went, you know what, I think I could probably run a mile tomorrow. And so I did. And then I said, well, 41, I could probably get to 100. If I get to 100, then I might want to stop. And so 100 came and went. And every day I had a different view on why I was doing it. It wasn't so much as that it was, because I will say the first 70 days were like, oh, I have to go do this. Oh, I have to find time to do this. Oh, this is such an inconvenience. Why am I doing this? But then after I got to the place where it became a habit, then it was more, it was part of my day that I really look forward to. It is at least 10 minutes that I can decompress and de-stress. It's really become just part of who I am now. And even my kids will say, oh, Mom, did you run today? They know it's important to me, and they know that I can give them my best if I've taken that 10 minutes for myself or 20 or whatever it may be. So yeah, and now I look, sorry, I have to say one more thing. Yeah. Now I look back, or I look forward and just say, will I stop? If I do, I think I'll be okay with that. But if I don't, just how blessed am I that I can continue to do this with my physical ability? How blessed am I that I can go run a mile tomorrow? Right. Because I know, there are so many people, even people that I work with, who would be unable to do that. So it is truly a great opportunity for me every day.
But you know what? I am so impressed by not just the level of consistency, but the level of priority that you have. I'll use myself as a perfect example. Today, I went out and I ran 8 miles. And I ran 8 miles because yesterday I was supposed to run, and I said, no, I'm not going to. So I added a couple extra miles today. And
nice.
But for you, you say, no, it's happening. And for people that don't know, you are in Oklahoma, where it's not beautiful 70 degrees every single day, and there's not beaches to run down. I mean, you're in Oklahoma, where it is hot and humid and gross at times, and there are bugs and rainstorms and tornadoes and you name it.
Yep.
And you've got all those responsibilities we talked about. And yet you still, for close to 5 years now are going out there and running every single day. That's huge. And you got the other people in your life to buy into it as well, to realize that it's not an inconvenience. It actually makes their life better if you can go out and do your thing.
Right. Yes.
That's so cool. So kudos to you. That's impressive. Super impressive.
Well, thanks. I mean, and I look at people like Jay Posix, who was just in our chat, and he has been streaking for years and years and years and years and years. And he is somebody that I completely look up to, because, I mean, look at him. He's in great shape. He's got a positive attitude. And I know that part of that has to do with the fact that he's taken some time for himself every single day. So he's one of my huge heroes as well.
So true. And I know you got to just run with him recently. I
did.
I met up with him over spring break this year. We were both down in the Destin, Florida area. And I just reached out to him today. You want to go for a run? He was there within minutes. I gave the guy a hug. I'd never met him before. And he is solid. So, yeah, I think what his streak began, I want to say, 1988 or something crazy.
Something like that. Yes.
Yeah. So we can all have hopes and dreams, but more power.
Yeah.
So all these other things that you're involved in, I mentioned farmer. So talk about that a little bit. And I'm not saying that like tongue in cheek. I'm being real. Right?
Right. The less glamorous side to life in Oklahoma is that we have an expensive hobby. We do farm. We farm and ranch. We mainly do that because that's what our parents have done. And so we've moved back into this area to take over their farms for them. I was raised by my grandparents. They're very dear and special to me. And when the time came that they were unable to take care of their farmland and their cattle, that's one big plus to being where I'm about 55 minutes from their farm. So that was one positive to being where we were at. And my husband's family is also in this same county. So they're about 35 minutes from us, but we actually live on some of the farm that is in my husband's family. So we're right here. We'll walk out the backyard and we've got the tractors and the combines, and you can see the wheat fields in the summer, and when he's cutting, he's just, right out the backyard.
So cool. Such a different world for so many of us. It's so fascinating. It really is. But it's just life for you, right?
It's life, and it's a lot of hard work. It is a big time commitment. It's very hard to be administrators and run a farm and ranch and just keep things up for, a couple different families. We're not just talking about our small, one small piece of land. We're talking about different pieces speckled here and there, and cattle. And so it is hard. But the thing about it is I hope that our children are really reaping the benefits of hard labor and, knowing responsibilities, and you do things because they need to get done and there's no one else that is going to do them. So you do things for the betterment of your family.
Yeah.
So I hope those are things that they're learning living here with us in rural Oklahoma.
So, and I'm going to come back to that because that's kind of been the theme of recent episodes where I really talk about the things that matter most. What are the lessons that we want to impart in the kids who were around? For us in education, sometimes we fall for the trap of saying content regurgitation. We want them to know all these facts, but what you're saying right now is really resonating with me, and some of the things that you want your own personal kids to really know and latch onto. And one of the things that you haven't said yet, but I know it's true, is that you want your kids to know that you are their biggest cheerleader. What I love about following you on social media is that your social media is filled with your adoration for your people. For your kids, for your husband, you are just always bragging on people. You're always at the baseball field or just watching the tractor go by. How do you, so for somebody that's so busy and has so many responsibilities, how do you tell yourself that it's important just to go sit at a baseball field and watch a game and not be doing 1,000 other things?
That's hard. That is a struggle that I have within myself almost daily, because there's a part of me that I long to be the very best at my job. I long to bring it for my kids at school and my staff. I want to be my very best at all times. So I really struggle because I feel like I balance horribly. Like I stink at balance, because I'm always struggling with that. But I keep at the forefront that my time with my children is limited, that I know that there is going to come a day when my oldest son, I mean, he's a sophomore, he's going to be a senior, he's going to be graduating, and I want to spend as much time as possible supporting them and showing them that I believe in them. I know they can do it. I actually showed my staff, I've got to tell you this because it really made a huge impact in me in August. But when we came back to school for my staff meeting, I talked to the staff about the time that we have with our kids. And there's a speaker named Josh Shipp. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He does a lot of speaking to youth. Like he's spoken at the National FFA Convention and he does a lot of youth speaking. But he has a YouTube video out there where he talks about our time being limited. And, oh no, did I lose you?
You're good.
Sorry. Phone call from my son, of course. And he's trying to call me again. I'm so sorry.
No, you're totally fine.
Anyway, Josh talks about our time being limited with our families, and he uses this oh my goodness, he must really Dave, give me just a second.
You're fine. Okay, so for those of you watching, that was a total real life moment when we're talking about balance and priorities. If you don't know what was going on, phone call was coming, phone call kept coming, phone call kept coming. We just paused it so Kas could figure out what's going on with her son and make sure everything is okay. And so I'm going to go back, and she was saying she struggles with balance. And I'm going to say, because you have a story you're going with, and I'm going to say you don't struggle with balance. I think you are a master of priorities, because you're in the middle of recording a podcast and you said, hold on, I got to take care of this. And that's awesome. So good for you. So carry on though.
Thanks. Okay. To make a long story short, in this video, he talks about how he was in a foster home, and then he leads into having a jar of marbles that he sets out on the counter. It's at a speaking event that he's speaking at, and the jar is filled with marbles, and they represent a week's worth of time for the next 18 years. And so then he shows one. If you've got a 9-year-old, this is how many marbles. If you've got a 16-year-old, you've only got a few years left before they're off to college, it's this many marbles. And so I had my teachers, we talked about how we each of our students for roughly 36 weeks in a school year. And so I had them take out 36 marbles into their own jars so that they could see that representation of time. And as we're sharing, we meet once a week. So they bring their marble from that week and share something positive, a positive relationship they've built, a positive interaction that they've had with the child, something with their marble. And so then all of those marbles are going into a big container. So hopefully they can see, but to go back to what I was saying, sorry, I got sidetracked, but that really put in perspective to me to see that jar of marbles that he set on the counter, and to know I have a 16-year-old. All of my time with my children is precious. And so to me, there's going to be time to be, and there may not be time, but I'm going to do my very best to be who my students need, but I'm going to definitely be who my children and my husband need.
That's so good. So good. So I'm going to say again, you don't struggle with balance. You don't. You struggle. Your only struggle might be you got a lot of things that you think are important. But going back to the chat we were just in, we said a focused leader says no to good ideas all the time. And I'll use my example here. I've been trying to schedule this recording with you for a couple of weeks, but you had
Yes.
baseball games to go to, you had a state fair to go to, you had all this stuff that you needed to do with your kids. And in my head, I'm thinking, no, this is a good idea. I want to record this. And you're saying, no, I've got other things that are more important. And that's leadership, number one. And number two, that's a woman who knows what's important. And that's just so powerful. And it's an amazing lesson for those of us who try to do it all, that you're never going to be able to. So focus on those things that really matter, whether it's running every day, whether it's watching a baseball game, whether it's just watching a loved one drive by in a tractor, who knows? You only get so many moments. So I think that's a powerful lesson for all of us. On that, I do want to take it to that next level and really, I mean, I'll turn the educational lens on a little bit. So you're a building principal, and I'm a school administrator as well. And at the end of the day, there are people out there that judge us based off whether or not our kids have learned all the stuff they deem to be important. Whether it's because of standardized test scores or, well, I'll just leave it at standardized test scores because that seems to be what now, where they want to make sure that our kids have, quote unquote, got it. I know I oftentimes struggle with trying to balance that with teaching stuff that I consider to be equally as important, if not more so, skills and aptitudes and mindsets that are a lot harder to quantify. How do you, this woman who I'm going to say, you are a master at balance. You are a master at prioritizing. You're a master at figuring out what truly matters most. How do you balance that and say, I'm going to make sure that my students in my school have experiences, that they know that they're loved, that they're cherished, but yet also infuse content and curriculum?
Oh, that's a tough one, Dave. Thank you so much for that. It's hard. Right. I think any administrator will tell you that is so hard. There's this inner struggle again. I think we all face it. We know what's important. In our hearts, we know that building those relationships with kids and making them feel loved and teaching them that being a kind human goes so far. It's a hard balance, because everybody outside of our school walls is not necessarily seeing, like you said, they're not quantifiable. They're not seeing that in any form that they can really judge. Mm-hmm. And so it is very hard. One thing that I like to say or do is I like to at least show on social media those kinds of things, those kinds of ways where we're trying to teach kids how to have good character, be kind, and really struggle through something, in addition to the more, things that parents are looking at, standardized test, we'll just call it that, standardized test scores. It's not great. I've always told my teachers, and so many of them share the same view, Mrs. Nelson, there's so much more than a test. There's so much more than a number. There's so much more. And I do believe that. I really do. But like you said, it's such a hard struggle for administrators. It's something I struggle with all the time.
It's a balance for sure. And I want to preface my response by saying, I do believe that at times that there's value in the number, for whatever it's worth. It's a great measure. It's a great way to progress monitor, as long as we look at it through the right lens. But I also believe that if we chase the number, we'll never hit the number. So sort of like the run streak. You mentioned that you go out and you run, not because you want to get a bigger number. Like you said, you don't necessarily even know what your number is right now, but you run because it's therapeutic for you, because it allows you to clear your mind. It helps you stay physically fit, and there's a lot of other benefits behind it. And because you do that, your number gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm a firm believer that if we do things for the right reasons, if we do the right things, the number takes care of itself. Whereas, like you said, when you started off and you were just chasing that number, those first 70 days were like, oh my gosh, do I really have to? When you chase the number, it's like chasing a rainbow. You'll never find it. So, I think for my current role, I'm a curriculum director, if you will. I get to supervise some amazing principals and go into schools all the time. And the teachers that got it, those teachers that are just killing it, they are masters of their content. They know the stuff, but they are using that stuff to teach the life skills. They're teaching civics, they're teaching history, they're teaching reading, so that kids can become those lifelong learners and be interested and intrigued and go out there and continue to try to solve problems and be innovators, not just they can
Yes.
spit stuff back and pass a test.
Right.
In my past life, I had another job where I worked as a turnaround principal, and there was this pressure from so many higher ups that wanted to come into my school and just do drill and kill so that the kids could pass the test. But they had tried that for 20 years and never saw the success. And it was just frustrating to try to change that mindset. So yet another compliment to you. I feel like that's another balancing act that you understand. At the end of the day, though, Cass, how do you define whether or not you're doing a good job? How do you know?
Well, I define whether I'm doing a good job or not by the energy and the looks on my kids' faces at school and my teachers. You can always feel, or at least I can always feel when things are awry or when things are maybe not great, or I try to be really attuned to what's going on in my school. Being part of the Principals in Action, I'm out and about every day. I'm in classrooms, I'm in the lunchroom. I saw a post on Facebook the other day from a principal that said, "When do you eat lunch?" And I'm thinking, well, I eat lunch every day because I eat lunch in my lunchroom with my kids and my teachers, because that I have made that a priority. So it's easy to see what, maybe what conversation I need to have with this teacher or this one, or who's down today, or who's not giving it their all because maybe they've been sick, or there's a struggle at home, or, all of those things are so important, because nothing's going to happen at school. Things are not going to be great. No one's going to grow if their needs are not met, if they don't feel loved, if they don't feel important or special. So to me, I feel like I judge whether I'm doing a good job by how others are acting around me. I want people to be happy, not just happy, happy. I want them to truly be happy with where they're at, with their job, or with what they're doing in school. I want there to be joy.
That's good.
So to me, that's how I know I'm doing a good job. Yes, there are lots of other things that are important. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But to me, I want kids to smile, and I want them to know that they can always count on me to be right there behind them or right there with them when they need me.
That's good. I've had the opportunity to hire lots and lots of teachers, and my interviews consist of 2 questions. My team can come up with a lot of other questions just to fill the time, but I only really care about 2 questions. The first one is, who are you? And tell me about yourself and your passions, what makes you tick. And then my last is always that question I just asked you. At the end of the day, how do you know if it's been a good day or a bad day? Because that answer tells you so much about what that person values. You're able to see how they reflect. You're able to see how they truly assess situations. Do they fixate on single moments, or do they focus on the masses? Do they sit back and just view things from afar, or are they in the trenches? And I love the fact that, you base your good days, bad days on a feeling, but that feeling is not just something that you're finding yourself going in your office and turning on some good quality music and singing songs to yourself. You're in the trenches with people, and your feelings are a result of their feelings. And in a school, we know happiness comes from success. When kids and teachers feel like they're nailing it that day, and people are learning and they're growing, that brings happiness. So when they're happy, ultimately good things are happening. That's so good. I love it.
Yeah.
So tell us about the start of your year. You've been at it for how long so far this school year?
We have been in school for 5 weeks now.
Wow. Okay. And has it been a good start?
Yeah. Yes. It's been an excellent start. Things are going really smoothly. I've just had one teacher to replace, and so I have a new 4th grade teacher. She's doing excellent. I have no complaints. I mean, last year was kind of one of those years I don't want to go into, but it's one of those years where you just say, well, that was
It was a
done.
learning opportunity.
That year was over. So, I mean, in retrospect, we did a lot of growing to get to where we're at this year. I did a lot of growing to get to where I'm at this year. And so, yeah, we've taken off. We're doing great. We've got some new things on our playground. Our kids are enjoying being at school and learning a lot. So it's really been a great start.
That's awesome. So what's next for you?
Oh, you're gonna have to be more specific. Like, I'm gonna eat some supper here in a minute.
There you go. Okay, fair enough. We'll just start with those small steps. So you're gonna eat some supper tomorrow. You're gonna get up and go to work and go for another run and do your thing.
Yes.
Are you gonna be a principal for forever?
Well,
because you've got somebody in front of you that you'll have to take out. If you're going to that next level, I know you also do advocacy work and stuff with NAESB and all that. So what's next? What's the next big thing you want to tackle?
Well, I really feel like the next big, I've kind of looked into this already, but it's not 100%. So
Okay.
I hate to like jinx myself on talking with you, but in all honesty, I plan to pursue a doctorate.
Yay!
Yeah. Being in rural Oklahoma has its challenges, and one of them is a school close enough that offers a doctorate. So we have OU and OSU, who are both very great schools, but I would have to spend at least 6 hours in a car just to get to one meeting. So there is another school in Oklahoma City, that's offering a doctorate online.
Okay.
And they're going to start a cohort in the summer of 2020. So that's what I'm looking into right now.
Because you're not busy enough. That's awesome.
I know.
Well,
I will roll off of the NAESP board of directors in August of 2020.
Okay.
So it'll be great timing to, I'll be finished with it, unfortunately, because I love serving. But so it seems like the perfect opportunity to pick up. I've always wanted my doctorate, so I'm going to do it.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. And I hope I don't
Thank you.
saying congrats to you. Either way, it's awesome. It's an awesome thing to pursue.
Now you can hold my feet to the fire.
You got it. You got it. That's awesome. You'll kill it, because I know you won't quit. That's for sure. So guys, as we wrap up, so there are a variety of people that listen and or watch this. We've got parents, we've got educators, we've got people out there just trying to figure out how to make a difference and figure out what makes the world go round. If you were trapped in an elevator and had 30 seconds to share with them your vision, like what is it that we need to be doing? What would you share? What's the important piece of life?
I think the important piece of life is to stop and enjoy where you're at every moment that you're there. You might be stuck in that elevator, but there is something that you can find to be grateful about. And I really think for me, that's where it's all at, is being in that moment and enjoying it and shutting other things off, all the things that are on the to-do list, all the things that have to be done, even for my children, okay, got to wash ball suits, got to do this, got to make sure, shutting all of that off, because it is hard. It's so hard in today's world to do that. We're constantly being bombarded. I think while I have been on this video with you, I've received 3 or 4 texts from different people, and they slide down on my screen and then they go back. We're constantly bombarded with things that we need to do. But I think we need to remember that we are doing something at that moment and that it should be important.
So good. Balancing those wants versus needs and focusing on what's really truly important, because you can't do it all. So focus on the people that matter most, the why it matters most, and Let everything else just happen in life. That's so good. You're awesome. So this is why I wanted to talk to you, because I needed this pep talk today. Yeah, there's thousands of others that are going to listen to this and watch this, but I needed this for me. So thank you. I mean, I truly, truly craved this, and I needed to hear those words today. Things happen for a reason. You're supposed to talk to people at the right time. So today was the day that I needed to hear this. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Dave. That is so kind of you. I don't even know what to say.
Oh, you're awesome. You're awesome. So just keep killing it every single day. Keep loving your kids. Keep being that amazing mom and wife and principal and farmer and bus driver and baseball cheerleader and all things Cass, and just keep inspiring us.
I will do my very best. Thank you so much, Dave. You've been very kind, and I just can't say thank you enough.
Well, thank you. Thank you.